Social. My name is Gabi. I'm a business analyst here at Cogent. We have Ajay here with us, who is a director on cybersecurity and our moderator today. And we are thrilled to introduce our speaker, Amol Kodak. Amol is an R&D executive. He will have a chance to introduce himself in a bit, but thank you, Amol, for participating in this space. And today's topic is emerging technologies shaping the future of connected healthcare. And if you have any question, as always, you can leave them on the chat section, or you can also raise your hand. We can take your questions like that as well. Thanks again for being here. And Ajay, over to you.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you for coming. I think it's a really honor for you to come and speak with us, especially on a subject that probably a lot of people don't have any really good insight on, right? And it was very important to us, especially from a health perspective, and how you guys are innovations and how you guys are helping. So I'm looking forward to listening and finding out more stuff. And then if you want to go ahead and please start.
Thanks, Ajay. First of all, thank you, Ajay and Gabby, for inviting me. It's always good to connect with a group of people who are interested in common areas of interest and discuss and learn. So it's also a learning opportunity for me when we interact and we'll talk about questions and answers. So about me, guys, again, very good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Amol Kodak. I take care of research and development of some of the fantastic technologies that are shaping the future of healthcare. And if you look at the core of it, my focus is elevating pain, restoring health, and extending life. So that's what I do with more than 2 decades of experience in the industry, both in tech and research and development, looking at how we can make impact for the betterment of human life. So that's about me. Thanks, Ajay.
Great. So do you want to sort of start off with just sharing some of the areas that we're seeing advanced in technology, right, today, and where do you see that? And I want to preface this because there was an announcement just the other day about AI and healthcare. I don't know, Amol, if you heard what happened. President, Trump said, "Hey, we're going to spend," I forgot what it was, $500 billion, right, in AI to help with healthcare, which I think is awesome because I don't think anybody's really brought up those subjects, right? So I think that's going to be great for your guys because that validates the need for an AI, the need for more information around healthcare for better practices.
No, absolutely. So I mean, obviously the announcement was big, and I see it was more of broader beyond healthcare, but the AI focus across globe continues. But let me just step back and for the benefit of audience, right? Let's see what's at the core when we talk about the topic, right? Shaping the future of connected healthcare. What's at the core is the patient. There's one interesting story or that I would like to share, right? When I joined this organization, and again, in this session, whatever views are there, I'm expressing on my own. But yes, when I joined my organization, there's one teacher who sends letters to the organization, right, every year. And the one letter read, right, beyond, without your products, I would be a fading photograph in the family album. Right. So that's the difference technology is making on human lives. So without the product, the person might not have been there. And if I have to talk about that person, he has been living with those pacemaker technology for last 50 years. He started, going for the went for the pacemaker, battery operated pacemaker in his 30s. Now today he's a proud grandfather, not just father but grandfather, right? And that's the impact, right? The person has been imagine the amount of impact technologies are making on healthcare and human life. So that's something which I really feel good about, that whenever you're working, technology should solve problems for human, and then and how they can benefit, right? So with that said, Ajay, to your point, right? So a lot of advancements are happening in the healthcare domain, and right from robotics engineering, and you know battery operated devices which go inside and live there for many years, but ensure that your your heart or brain and the spine are functioning properly. A lot of those changes are happening. So medtech, so we we call it as medtech, medical technology. I'll talk about, is going through a huge amount of transformation, and especially with the advances in computing power, wireless technology, things like big data analytics and AI. It is able to, we are able to process huge amount of heterogeneous data, process it, and then transform it into meaningful outcomes. So a lot of fun and exciting stuff is going on in terms of meaningful innovation. But yeah, Ajay, if you would like me to talk about some specific topics, I can cover those, whether it's
Sure.
AI or
Yeah.
help me understand. Yes.
That'd be great. One of the things I think that would be interesting is what are the key technology things that are driving the healthcare, right? Around
Mhm.
AI. In your opinion, you've done a lot of research. You've talked about better health. You've talked about improving the quality of the communications. Can you share
Mm.
some of that site and what that looks like for you guys?
Absolutely. And then I'll talk about more even broader, right, across the healthcare spectrum, how
Sure.
things are happening. So, with the advancement of, Internet of Things that you have been hearing for quite almost a decade now, right? The Internet of Medical Things have evolved, and what it means is earlier, let's say your uh, fridge or car or your doorbell was connected through your mobile, right? Now we are talking about the device that is inside your body, and that means the patient is connected, right? So remote patient management has become a big focus, especially, and with a given the huge huge workload on the healthcare professionals, right? This has been a big trend in terms of remote patient management, which is helping both the clinicians, the hospital staff, the payers, insurance providers, as well as the patients, right? To not just for patients who they don't have to travel miles and wait in hospital queues to get consulted. So remote patient management, especially and chronic disease management, is being focused on. That's one big trend. When I say okay, let me talk about top trends, right? Remote patient management, AI in medical image analysis, AI in clinical decision support, right? Robotics for medical surgeries, and then AI assisting there. So AI is assisting at so many places. But yeah, I mean, it's solving some of the complex problems, right? Including beyond medtech, enabling telemedicine, right? Virtual consultation, diagnosis is happening, fostering. This is what is in for patient. This is helping people to live independently, right, at home. When we say remote patient management, they don't have to be in hospital all the time or keep getting checked at the hospital. The devices are talking to your mobile phones, and the mobile phones are then sending data over your cellular network or Wi-Fi network to the cloud, and doctors are or the clinicians are looking at the data and telling, okay, you are good, don't worry, or okay, please come for checkup, and we will follow up on that. So that's on remote patient management for the patient side, right? The other one is on the clinical decision support, right? Uh, now even we can talk about pharma here, right? So drug discovery is a big topic and it takes years, right? But then we definitely see AI playing a big role in the drug discovery, especially focusing on the molecular modeling of proteins, right? So that's one area. Second, when we come to devices, medical devices, we are also looking at personalized care because every patient is different, every parameter is different, right? And then how the clinical decision support would be provided, right, to the clinicians. For example, right, let's say you have a pacemaker and it pacemaker ensure the rhythm of the heart is managed properly. And then this data is continuously sent. Now, just to process this huge amount of data and ensuring if there are any anomalies is difficult. So AI is definitely helping clinicians to look at and suggest where they should focus on. So it's improving the efficiency of the clinicians, right? And also getting that quick response to the patients. So that's what is happening. Predictive analytics is definitely plays again in the clinical decision support system. One big application beyond this is the medical image analysis. So especially on the diagnostic fronts. So think of it, right? So many X-rays and those things are done, and uh, so many scans are there. So enhancing the diagnostic accuracy by AI and doing the imaging analysis is helping a lot to clinicians and the hospital staff, and that's where I see a big application. And again, it's a work in progress. So while adoption is in progress, but it is going to help a lot in terms of imaging analysis. Let me also talk about another important aspect. It's also helping in terms of cancer detection and treatment planning. And if I have to give one example, right? Let's look at the endoscopy, right? So you know how the endoscopy happens. So one of the advancements that have happened in terms of endoscopy, which is very difficult for the patient, is instead of a tube going, there is a multivitamin tablet size device with a camera. The patient has to swallow it, right? And the tablet goes throughout the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, right from your mouth, and goes through all your, you know, stomach and intestinal tract. So, and it takes thousands of pictures while going through it, right? Thousands, literally, of pictures. Now, these pictures for a human eye, analyzing thousands of pictures, and if there anything wrong in the, or is there anything concerning, is difficult. But AI assists in analyzing all these images. Now think of that if there are polyps. Polyps are basically small tumors, right? These thousands of images are scanned and those abnormalities could be detected. So polyp detection can happen through this AI technologies, and it happens, right? So this helps in early cancer detection. Colon cancer, for example, could get detected through this technology. So that's a big deal, and early detection means early treatment, and it can help save someone's life, right? So those things are there. So in a nutshell, remote patient monitoring, virtual patient care, right? Diagnosis and predicting and helping the clinical decision support system. Or in the third one is the medical image analysis, is where I see big focus of AI that would happen in the healthcare world.
Got it. No, that's great. Thank you. So one of the other things is I was kind of interested in finding out is how does that affect the patient engagement and experience, right? Could you talk a little bit about that? You know, how that's going to be revolutionizing based on the different AI technologies now that we have?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, very good question you asked, Ajay, So as I said, patient should be at the core of everything that is being built or developed, right? And how do we make her life easy, correct? So let's look at the remote patient management, correct? And I'm sure, if you look at the global landscape, cities have hospital infrastructure, but that's overloaded. Rural areas at many places may not have the needed infrastructure. But with the nowadays, mobile phones are available everywhere, right? I mean, with good connectivity. So the remote patient management, especially, and if your devices are now, which are going in implants, right, which are going inside the body, are coming up with Bluetooth technology. So the Bluetooth device implanted in the body can talk to the phone, and the phone has the medical device software which talks to which captures all the critical information and sends it to the hospital, right? This saves huge amount of efforts in terms of, see, think of it, the patient had to book an appointment, the hospital has to find a slot, the clinician has to meet that in person. But instead of that, trained technical clinical representative can look at the information, especially in case of this kind of critical care, and says, okay, all good, you don't have to travel hours and thousands of miles, right? Just go ahead, and or you don't have to wait in hospital queue. So patient experiences improved a lot in terms of how these technologies are helping. Second, when we talk about patient care, right? So here, one of the things that what we have seen is, irrespective of the data getting sent, right? Many times there is anxiety among patients that, oh, is my pacemaker working properly? Is there something wrong? Is the battery at the right stage? Correct. Earlier, this information was not available. They had to go to hospital to say, "Oh, everything is good. Your battery and the pacemaker is working fine." Now, there are patient apps which help them to check. Oh, everything is fine, right? It's like your car. If you're going on a long drive, you want to make sure that the car is functioning properly so that it does not break down. But think of when the patient is dependent on that device. Without that device, he or she may have big problems. So that anxiety levels are definitely getting reduced a lot through these patient apps, where they themselves are getting all the information, alerts, everything. Or also in terms of predictive analytics, it is being said, okay, why don't you book your next appointment, after some in few days, so that go and visit. So patient experience is definitely improved. And also in terms of learning, so there are also technologies which are also helping to uh, uh, do the analytics on how patient is actually using this devices, technologies and all. And based on that behavior, the next generation of the solution or software is getting changed, so that the behavior is, the patient experience is better. So a lot of things happening there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's this mobile applications for patients is a game changer. I really think this is going to be broad. But the other, I think maybe topic would be also when the patient is engaged, you can have, feedback from different lifestyles, right? Lifestyle affects everybody at one point or another, right? If he's not exercising or if his glucose is way off, you know what I mean? So we have to be sort of cognizant to that fact. And I think this type of a technology, if we want to talk a little bit about it, will help
Absolutely.
coach those, especially elderly people. I know when my mom, she was a diabetic, personal
Yeah.
story, and she suffered a lot. She didn't have the feedback. She didn't have the applications back. She didn't know. She was poking her, fingers, testing the blood, then she would read it, couldn't figure it out, get frustrated. So, I think this is going to really help in that area.
No, absolutely, Ajay. You brought a very good example, right? So diabetes is something, for example, is a huge uh, challenge for so many people across the globe, and especially the places where severe diabetes, right? The technology like smart diabetes care are helping a lot, instead of always poking, and it's so painful, right, to test the blood and ensure looking at your insulin levels and ensuring that you are taking the right medication or adjusting. And for patient it is so difficult, but things are the smart insulin pumps are there, which are ensuring that they are, so the continuous glucose monitor, which is a sensor, and then the smart insulin pumps, which are ensuring that they look at the sensor, the sensor monitors without, the pain of getting the blood out, right? They're ensuring that the checks are done. They look at monitor the insulin level, and appropriate amount of insulin is given at the right time to the patient. And at the same time, like you said, a real-time tracking keeps on happening on mobile, and you can look at it. In fact, the CGMs are also helping. Okay, if I take this meal, how much is the spike in my glucose level? Oh, maybe I should change my lifestyle and I should change the kind of food that I'm eating, right? And on times and all those things. So definitely, instead of multiple daily injections, that pain, that personalized treatment through this technologies is life transforming. It is helping patients a lot, even to make, not just take medicines or automatically, not the but also changing lifestyles, looking at the data, because data is empowering them to take the right decisions. So thought of example that you brought up, Ajay. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
One of the
Amol,
other,
oh,
yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
yeah.
yeah, I have a doubt here. Are
Mhm.
there like any concerns around the device longevity or the frequent replacements or software updates? Does that happen?
Uh, sure. No, so device longevity is definitely an area of focus. Whenever you do a surgery, right, and you are dependent on that implant, correct? You want that to run over a longer period of time, correct? So that's definitely something that is always a focus. To how do you improve? And again, with the advancement of computing technologies, with the advancement of battery technologies, it is definitely helping. But whatever advancements are done, what is also helping is monitoring that, correct? So if you have an implant, whether it's a pacemaker or a defibrillator or a neurostimulator, right? You getting that clear visibility of how things are going on, what is the battery life? And again, we are talking about here battery life in 8 years, 10 years, and like that, right? So that's how it is. But getting that thing monitored is definitely plus point. And from concern standpoint, it's not a concern, because from the standpoint of medical device undergoes a heavy regulatory assessment from FDA, and the testing, the clinical protocols, the clinical trials, right? All those things go so much of in the rigor is so much that once that is proven, the risk benefit analysis, then only it is launched to the broader audience or the patients. But yes, now you might say that, okay, is the device is 8 years, is that a concern? So typically the way this things is being solved is after 8 years or 10 years, whatever that device lifetime is, that is monitored, and accordingly the next steps the clinicians are taking in terms of changing batteries, recharging, or whatever, right? So that's how it works in the medical world. Gabby,
Got it.
but good question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also thinking like, is there such thing as like alarm fatigue for doctors or patients, or those devices only work with or send these alarms when there's actually a high risk of something? Like, have you heard this term, or is it happening?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, and one of the things, definitely our clinicians are so burdened, the doctors are so burdened with the caseload, especially I'm sure you might be hearing about this, the hospital staff is less than expected, the patient load is more. So how do we solve this problem? And that's where these technologies are playing a big role in that. And we already talked about enough of remote patient management. So you don't let, you monitor many things remotely, correct? and you monitor those alerts. So the alert fatigue, right, is something, or rather than alert fatigue, right? So it is also important that how do you configure these solutions and the software, so the user experience. At the same time, you don't want to miss on the critical alert, but you don't want to look at all the alerts, right? So those configurations should be done really well, and there is the staff needs to be trained. So training and awareness and ensuring that it is used in appropriate manner definitely helps. But yes, to be honest, the load on clinicians is more, and definitely there are a lot of actions being taken to reduce that burden. And AI is proving to be one of the ways to analyze this and try to recommend, right? Again, I'll tell you, there are something called as false positives, Gabby.
Right.
False
Mhm.
positives means, right? I mean, you feel it's there, but it's not there, correct? But how do you analyze that? And think of it, and again, I'm just going to pacemaker for the sake of understanding. Heart waveform. Continuously, you have to monitor. Now, there might be a lot of places where false positives are there, but the AI can play a role to look at those false positive and help clinicians to focus on only critical areas where there are AF events and also. So that's what is how it works or helps.
Got it. And are there like training sessions also for the user?
Yes. So, short answer, yes. The long answer is the now let's talk about any of these new technology, whether it is like we talked about capsule-based endoscopy, or we talked about, see earlier the pacemakers were bigger, they were implanted here. Now the pacemaker has also become size of a vitamin capsule, and it goes percutaneously from your leg, right from there, and then it goes up and gets implanted in the heart. So these trainings, there are training programs for this electrophysicians, or which are being done um, uh, before they get into this kind of surgical things. At the same time, can more be done? Definitely, so how to use the application, how to look at the application. So there are few training programs are done, but there's always an opportunity to make your education and training programs better basis the user and geographical setting where you are. So there are definitely those areas, but there are programs in place that take place across organizations.
One
Got
other
it.
question kind of came to mind too, was this, you talked a lot about the patient experience on the clinical side, on the hospital side and the provider side. Can you sort of talk a little bit about the advancements, right, in surgery, for an example, right, with some of the devices that they have, and how that's going to really help with unnecessary surgeries, or maybe diagnose proper surgeries or procedures, right? Perform the proper procedures, or give them opportunities to explore other ways to do a certain procedure. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of advancements are happening in the surgical space, especially, how do you do surgery, right? Both in terms of and the benefits are multifold, both from patient standpoint and patient experience, as well as from the surgeon's standpoint. So we talked about the patient load and the surgical load, right? One key thing or key advancement happening in the medical world in the surgical space is called RAS, robotic assisted surgery, right? And that is helping the especially laparoscopic surgeries, correct? It is helping surgeons a lot in becoming so efficient, and I don't know if you ever got chance to look at the picture, but it's like a gaming station, guys, so the surgeon sits at one console, and there are controls, right? Think of it as a gaming controls, right? And then there's a patient with the surgical robots, right, around him. and it is all assisted surgery. So the surgeon plays with the through the various arms, and the arms have finger-like ends, which can go to the areas where regular hand cannot go. It's so difficult, right, to go inside the body and at that precision level. And everything has camera, so surgeon is able to see each and everything. But at the same time, this is helping surgeon to do the precise surgeries and ensure that the surgery is happening not just precise accurately but also faster, right? So he or she can serve more patients in a day. So robotic assisted surgery is one big thing happening. Beyond that, there are definitely a lot of therapy innovations, correct? So look at ablation, right? Ablation means you have to treat the tissue either by heat or by cold, right? Or by electrical impulses. So sometimes some part of the body are creating um, let's say example heart, right? In heart, maybe the tissue is not functioning properly and you want to subdue it, so you give ablation. So those ablation therapies are now becoming minimal invasive, and they are doing it. So we talked about the smallest pacemaker, right, which is now this small, right, and it goes through minimal invasive way into the heart, right? Through your vein from the leg, right? So that's how it goes. But instead of opening your heart and then doing the surgery, so a lot of those advancements are happening, Ajay, in the surgical space, and technology, including the imaging and AI beyond software is definitely helping a lot.
That's great. It sounds like there's a lot of advancement. So with all of this going on, I think I'd like to kind of get your view on security, cybersecurity at this point, right? Because let's face it, in these times, there's a lot of bad actors out. There's a lot of stuff going on. I know your industry is heavily regulated, but what do you think, how we can make people a little bit more feel at ease that, hey, we're securing this stuff. It's not just going to get into somebody's hands and they can stop devices, right? So I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
A great topic you touched, and Ajay, definitely with the glorification of this connected care, right? And rapid adoption in healthcare setting. Everything is connected, right? Patient is connected. We talked about remote patient management. Everything is monitored, connected, right? But this is definitely has led to a huge increase in the attack surface, right, for the bad agents or threat actors, right? And then obviously, as we know, there are many threat actors, including insider threats or nation state actors and cyber criminals, right? So all those things are happening. So the attack surface has increased, expanded, right, heavily, and there's a big concern in terms of security. And at the same time, what's happening is the obviously both the companies who are either making these products are ensured for them because it's about human life and death, right? These devices or technologies. So making it utmost secure is critical, but at the same time, keeping the game to the best possible level is important because the attackers are becoming smarter. They are driving, there are data breaches that can happen. Privacy is another concern. Ransomware has evolved, right, Ajay? And the AI, with the AI evolution, attacks are also happening through AI. So AI powered attacks is something that would happen in the security world, right? Definitely, a lot of regulations are in place. Regulations are getting evolved. Um, and again, the risk management standards are getting evolved, whether it is the regulations like EUMDR or the ISO 13485, they are getting, 62304, the standards. The FDA has updated their cyber security guidelines as well, where they are now asking, right? But what principles, or they are not just asking, but I would suggest everyone also needs to follow is how the cyber security is part of device safety and quality system regulations. So it should be part of your quality management system and ensuring that at each gate of development you are looking at all the areas. Design for security needs to be really good, whether it comes to secure architecture, putting security controls, ensuring the patch releases are being done properly. Architecture reviews, security architecture reviews needs to happen, whether it's in terms of risk management. I think there's also now the recent one, I think year and a half back when it came. Now FDA has been pushing for the SBOM, the software bill of materials, because you are not just building software, you are using so many third-party libraries. So how are you ensuring that you're watching each and every component, the software bill of material they call, but for vulnerabilities and appropriately taking actions, right? So the SBOM is definitely a good practice or practice to have beyond threat modeling and SOOP analysis. Again, and the other things which have been there for some time needs to continue, whether it's ensuring right security requirements are there. Your vulnerability testing, yeah, pen testing, right? Penetration testing, code analysis, those things are mandated or should be mandated for secure product development life cycle. And yeah, beyond this, if you come to talent, right? Ensuring that your software developers understand the secure software development lifecycle, what it takes to make it secure, and also from organization standpoint, having incident management. So it's like, despite of if you do all these things as part of your product development, it might happen that post-market vigilance is important. You keep on monitoring the legacy products, ensure that the legacy products are patched, regularly for security. And logging and monitoring is another best practice that needs to be followed. And beyond that, something happens, the incident management uh, uh, team needs to be there from which can address. So these are some of the regulatory standard. I try to cover multiple facets of it, Ajay, but yes, risk, attack surface is evolving, threat actors are becoming more advanced with both. So they are also leveraging technology. So similarly, the regulatory standard is evolving and needs to evolve further, but irrespective of that, organization should follow the practices, whether it's pre-market or post-market, best security practices in their development process, is how I would put it.
Now, it's a wide area. That's one of the issues, right? So, the responsibility falls upon a lot of different things. Even as a personal individual, changing your passcodes, making sure that's secure, right? So it goes back to the person who's also using these devices, right? I mean, that's a big concern, right?
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
some people, that's great. I think one of the other areas I see a lot is the rising in healthcare costs, right? So if you don't mind, how do you think this type of AI technology will help reduce some of those costs in healthcare? Because that's a big concern, especially in the US. It seems like it's getting out of control, with the insurance companies and the billings and all these kinds of things.
Uh, sure. No, I think that's a great topic, and mm, it's something that um, will need a lot of deliberations, Ajay.
Maybe we'll
But
do
what
another section on that one.
right,
I just-
that might need another session, right? But and you talked about US healthcare, definitely, and then there are emerging markets. There is another challenge, right? Affordability,
Right.
availability, and all. So a lot of work definitely is being done, but more could be done. Now, with that said, right? I think the technology has a really good role to play in this. And the we touch based upon those examples earlier. again, whether it is AI or software or connectivity technologies, right? Um, we are talking about telemedicines. We are talking about remote patient management, right? Which which should help in reducing the burden on patients and clinicians both, and in terms of that hospital cost, right? Um,
Right.
also, um, and we talked about AI, right? AI can help in doing a lot of complex image processing, image analysis, and all, right? So these softwares will work on areas which are taking a lot of human time, and in turn leading to, if when more human time is spent, it leads to increased costs, right? So these technologies would make things more efficient, whether it's in terms of processing the data, analyzing the data, providing the resolution. Um, that is where I see, you know, some costs would get reduced or are getting reduced to a certain extent. Some patients are getting benefited. So value-based healthcare. So, how do you get the maximum value for the dollar that you spent, correct? In terms of understanding your own health. And again, I think you took a great example of, the diabetes part, right? So the diabetes care, not just that, the technology are also helping to drive lifestyle changes, right? You're monitoring your own health. It's in your own hand and you're looking at it. Oh, I need to change this, right? Rather than always dependent on hospitals. So those behavioral changes are being done. The personalized care is happening. One solution fits all kind of trend is going away, and personalized care is definitely helping to reduce the cost. So for something, it's something else might work. Well, this so many of these things, including teleconsultation, telemedicines, and even if you look at, we are talking about you know, pharmacy, right? And someone said, right, the mRNA vaccine, right? That took huge amount of time to develop, huge amount of resources and dollars went in, right, during the COVID time. Those kind of things, maybe with the help of AI models, we can do much faster, right? And that in turn brings the cost down of the therapy or the solution or the vaccine in this case. So definitely, I see positive impact of technology, not just in extending life, alleviating pain, uh, but also reducing cost, I would say.
Great. One more thing I noticed also with certain types of, you've got things like kidney failure with dialysis, and I don't know if this is a subject, but how do we put AI into that, or can we? You know what I mean? Where maybe we come up with the technology that can actually do that, because now a patient has to go to the hospital, spend 5-6 hours, 3 times a week, and it's monotonous, gets into a routine. What if they don't have access to it? What if they can't get there? I'm just curious on your thoughts on anything, if there's anything looking into that from an evolution perspective.
Yeah. So definitely, and again, l- technology is helping multifolds, whether it is in terms of diagnosis, in terms of treatment, in terms of analysis of data, in terms of when to do it, how much to do it. So irrespective of whether it's dialysis or we talked about smart insulin pump, this is now the technology is talking about looking at that individual, not a general population. Oh, this is what should be the treatment, common treatment. This is a common medicine, take it all, right? This is a common therapy. Technology helping to look at every patient individually and try to solve it. But yes, I do definitely see, I may not have right now an example for you to talk about what's happening in there. But definitely whether it's diagnosis, treatment, personalized care, I see those applications, Sajay, in that space.
Yeah, and I think that kind of answers that, because if you can pinpoint the diagnosis, and stop doing one fits all, I think that's just better medicine for everybody, right? And
Yeah.
it pinpoints, because for example, I'll give you my case. They told me, oh, I'm pre-diabetic. You got to take metformin. Right. So I'm like, well, how many milligrams? Well, we'll start with 1,000. But you know what I'm saying? Again, it's like taking a dart and throwing it with your eyes closed. You have no idea,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah,
have no
yeah,
idea how
yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
affect the other, symptoms or even the other medication inside of your body, that you're taking. So all of those things are going to be very interesting with AI because, to your point, I think it's going to help reduce the cost because now you may not need those medications at that dosage, right?
Yeah,
Because each
absolutely.
body functions differently, to be frank with you, and at different ages, our bodies function differently, right? So I
Yeah,
think that's great.
yeah. Well said. That's it.
So,
It's great.
talking about this, like reducing costs eventually, Amol, do you foresee then these emerging technologies in the medical field help to reduce the accessibility gap in remote zones? Do you think that will happen eventually?
Say that again. I missed the last part, Gabby, if you can repeat that.
Sure, yeah. Since we already discussed the costs that are high right now and you are trying to reduce these costs, I'm thinking, do you like foresee emerging technologies in the medical field help bridge the accessibility gap in remote zones or like underserved zones in the planet, not US especially, but
Understood.
overall?
Um, yeah, I think yes. So we talked about two things, right? One is where we can reduce cost burden through use of technologies, right? Second, we talked about some types of technology and the cost might be higher, but how do you give the maximum value? So value-based care, how you can drive to give the maximum of the dollar that person is spending, right? And to Ajay's example, right? Bet morphine, you keep pumping with 1,000 and then 500 and just test, is this working for you? Kind of thing for a period of time. So instead of that, accurately taking the right step. So that's value. But you brought a very good point, right? Some of this which are, and again, this is all there is also some part of reimbursement, correct? In some places the reimbursements are there, some places insurance covers it, and some places it does not cover it. Some places it's out of pocket, and it becomes so difficult for individuals, correct? Especially in the emerging markets and the developing countries. So so it's not only one side, multiple parties involved, Gabby, at a broader level. Uh, One, if there is this standard of call it this standard of therapy and that same standard of quality, we want to make it accessible. There is a part that government has to play in terms of reimbursements, right? So there is that they have to play. Um, then there is part of that insurance providers have to play, correct? Which what how they can cover that at many places. So it's not like who manufactures them would only be the solution. Otherwise, the
Right.
patient will be at trouble, right? So it's in terms of accessibility, one part is that regulations ensure, and at the same time, right, the government can also play some and are playing, right? They are restricting um, certain cost of certain devices in emerging market at that level, which in turn is pushing limits for the companies to build something within that, right, for that population. So that was making them more accessible, right? Or the goal is that, but yes, government, regulatory bodies, insurance provider, and the companies that either manufacture medicines or the medical devices, all four parties are involved to make it happen. So that's needed. Is something being done? Yes. Many initiatives are happening at different places where things are being developed for emerging market. And let me tell you another thing, right? One of the and again, this is fantastic. One of the advancement of technology, right? Earlier, uh, many times the patient base was taken from US, or because the payers, the or countries where you can fund. But now with technology, if it is being made so simpler to get the patient data, the technologies are helping to get, for example, pulse oximeter. Look at pulse oximeter, right? Which you know, and many people have understood it from COVID, right? We are measuring that. So pulse oximeter outcomes basis the skin tone are also may differ, right? And that's something that was now realized through technology, and that's where the patient base needs to be there. The research needs to also happen in all those emerging world, not just building, giving the same therapy there, but research and then customizing the therapy there. And yeah, beyond that, making see this remote ambulatory solutions, and with the technologies, instead of big reactive devices, huge dedicated devices, if things can be done on mobile phones or portable devices, that can now go to the rural areas, the unserved areas, right? And you can solve something remotely, and the doctor doesn't have to go there. The doctor can sit in the city, right? But these devices can go, and multiple patients can get monitored. So that is how definitely I see an evolution happening. So technology is helping to democratize some of this, but not all. Yeah. So there are four or more parties that have to play a role.
Definitely, yeah. And it's great that you actually think that this can happen like this. It's possible, so that's good. All right, Ajay, do you have any closing questions? We are
I think
about to.
we're about to bump on 12 o'clock here. Just if anybody wants to ask any questions or anything, that would be great. But I think we talked about a lot of different things. So hopefully, everybody's going to get something out of this, and maybe one day we'll have Amol come back and update us on the different advances on technology. We really appreciate this too. So I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions they want to ask, go ahead and do it through the chat, and then we'll have Amol answer those.
I actually got one from Chandu, but he sent it over right when you were asking about cybersecurity. He was asking about data security while transferring the data wireless, like
Right.
pacemaker sending data to doctors. So I figured that was answered already.
I was even thinking of one other thing with this technology that you guys are providing. You mentioned something about remote patients, so now instead of sending a medical doctor, you could even send an LP or somebody, right? Somebody not as a high cost, right?
Yeah.
And she or he can have their device and diagnose, and it's going to a central area where you have more, experienced doctors helping diagnose them. I think that's a wonderful thing, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
A lot of tech people are getting heart attacks. How to reduce it?
Okay.
If you can figure that out, Amol, I'll give you the Nobel Peace Prize.
Kiran, thank you for asking that. But the cardiovascular diseases is the #1 killer in the world, and it does not differentiate between tech people and non-tech people. Correct? It happens. Now, obviously, I think preventive healthcare is definitely something that everyone has to look at it. And it's not just devices, ensuring that time to time preventive checks, healthcare checks, those things should be done irrespective of whether someone is tech or not non-tech. I think that awareness of at least yearly once a preventive check can really help. And then, yes, beyond that, use technologies, right? Use technologies that can assist you.
And the lifestyle, I would say, movement, exercising.
Yeah, that's
going to say
preventive.
that.
Yes.
The problem with tech people is they sit in front of their keyboard for 15 hours, right? And they don't take a break. So just go back to mental illness. I know Amol's laughing because he's probably one of those, so am I. But the funny thing is your mental well-being has a lot to do with also your, your physical body and your medications and stuff you're taking. I noticed that, So maybe that's another area that this will help out with mental illness, to be frank with you, right? To help diagnose it, instead of, prescribing pills, it could be as easy as lifestyle changes and pointing those things out, in therapy, those kinds of things. So,
Absolutely. Keep your heart happy. Walk 12,000 steps a day. Monitor those that you're walking, right? And yeah, I think do those basic steps, some cardio exercises. All those things are there. Yes. Well said, Ajay.
thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to wrap it. Gabby, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really. Just thank Amol for wanting to participate in this. It was a great session, very insightful. And thank you everyone for supporting this space. Amol, any closing words?
Hey, no, thanks. First of all, let me say thanks to you and Gabby, you and Ajay for this wonderful interaction. It was, I really liked the way you guys kept it informal, and it was great to interact with this audience. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and all the best to all of you guys. So thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
good day.
Amol. We'll keep in touch for sure. So
And this will be recorded too. So if you want the link, Gabby will send it out to you. You can take a look at the link as well too. So, okay.
All right.
Wonderful job.
Sure.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. See you next
Bye.
week.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.